Welcome back. So today, as promised in the previous video, I'm going to walk you through the design on the lift system, the pneumatic lift system that I'd like to have present in my cars. Now, we're on a pretty large scale field here for what we're going to be making, but we want to make things in scale for when we put them into vehicles. So we are going to start by scaling this up. And we're going to make it 8 inches cubed just to get us started. Okay. Boom. So we've got an 8-inch cube. But you know what? We don't need an 8-inch cube. We need an 8-inch plate. So I'm going to make this plate 1/8 of an inch thick. So that's 0.125. So now we've got an 1/8 inch thick plate here. And we're just going to put that at position Y0. So that's right on the floor. Okay, and it's actually intersecting the floor. So you know what? I'm going to go a step further and go 0.05125. Okay, so that lifted up a 1/16 of an inch, gets us right on the plane. So now I know when I get ready to set my next shape that I can set it at 0.125 and it's going to be right on top here. So next we are going to use the sphere for this, I think. Yes, I think that the sphere will do quite nicely. Now, with the sphere, we're going to similarly scale up. 8 inches. Okay. And that is a nice cube, you might say. Nice sphere on top of a plate. But it is now way taller than I need for my purposes, because that's about how tall we want it when it is fully inflated. But we're going to go to our deflated height. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to plane off the tops on these. .7, 3.7. Okay. 1.24. Okay. So now I've got flat top, flat bottom. And I know with this, now I can go back to Object Select, and I can adjust the height here. We're going to go 2.5 inches down height. And what I mean when I say down height for this is, so it's going to have two shapes. You've got your down shape, which is the current iteration that you see here. Down shape meaning this is what it is like when the device is not in use. Up shape, or lifting shape, is going to be more like this. It's going to be much more spherical. And the reason for this is because that's the idea. It's flattened out like a pancake when it's deflated, and it gets tall like a sphere when it's inflated. And that is how it does the job of lifting the car, is by getting taller. This is great technology for what we're trying to accomplish here for a couple of reasons. The first reason why this is a really great technology for what we want to accomplish is because it is simple, super simple. There is no moving parts in this. The parts do not technically move. They just expand and contract. So we're talking about an incredibly simple machine, very little to go wrong, very, very little to worry about in the hows and how muches of this device. And because it's so simple, we are already most of the way done with the basic design of it. It's really not a super complex design. We're talking about, technology that was invented over half a century ago. These airbags are very similar in design to those used in big heavy trucks, in Cadillacs, other luxury vehicles. These are a very straightforward piece of technology that has been in use in various design iterations for a very long time now. And of course, we've got the problem that we would naturally face with a device like this of keeping it aligned. So, how are we going to keep it aligned? We are going to keep it aligned by having rods. These rods I want to be about 1/4 of an inch, so we'll go 0.25, done. Okay, but we're going to make it taller. We are going to make these alignment rods twice as tall as our down position airbags. Okay. So let's measure where the height of this is. Position Y is at 7.47 inches. Because I did wind up going a little under the 2.5 inch mark. Not sure if you guys caught that. The reason why I did that is just to make the dimensioning a little bit easier overall, as far as getting this into a workable package that can go into the vehicle without disrupting everything else that has to be in the vehicle. Okay, so with that at 7.47, understanding that we want to take about 1/8 of an inch out of there, we're going to select all of these faces here. And we're going to go to position Y, 14 point, let's call it 9 5. Done. And boom. So we've got a stabilizing rod. Let's get it positioned just so. I'd like to have that recessed from the corner a bit. I like that. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to save myself a bunch of time. I'm going to mirror this way. Then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to multi-select. So I've got both of these. And I'm going to mirror this way. So now what I've done effectively is I've just recreated that in an exact mirror image, exact positioning to match on all 4 corners. So already you can see coming together the basis for the lift. So this is going to be a pretty quick and simple build. So now, what next, right? Next, we're going to want a top plate, and we're going to want to figure out what those fittings are going to look like to make this all work. So next, I'm going to take, and I'm going to just simply clone this. I'm going to bring it right up to the top. Yes, 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 I know I should get premium. Boom, we've got that right down on the top. So now that quick, simple, out of the way, that's now a caged airbag. And what's going to happen is this plate is going to be fixed. This plate, when the airbags expand, is going to get pushed down. Down into the ground, lifting the vehicle up. Now, how is it going to do that? Well, naturally, it's going to have air. Now, for air, we want to just simply create a cylinder. We're going to similarly scale the cylinder down. Let's make it 1 inch. Okay. Gonna zero that out. Gonna zero that out. Perfect. So now I've got that right dead center top of my bags. And now we're gonna take and make our fitting. Because that's just basically like the let's call it the manifold for the airbags. We do still need a place for the air to come in through. A little pipe situation. To the creators of this app, I do really strongly suggest that in future updates, perhaps it could be considered to add the ability to customize your pipe wall width independently in that dimensioning window to the left-hand side of the screen. The reason that I would like this is because I'm not always dealing with, the same sort of a wall thickness requirement in relation to the diameter of what I might be working with. And I feel like that's probably something that is true for most people doing these kinds of projects. I am going to add a little bit of a dome here because these kind of fittings, you always have a little bit of a machined kind of point to the top. And then we're just going to create another pipe. And of course, this goes off things that you've recently created and tries to put things in a reasonable scale so that there's, kind of some rhyme and reason to how it all comes together. And you can see kind of basically what I'm doing here is just sort of putting what looks basically like an air hose quick disconnect, which I do want all of the fittings on here to have, a fairly easy disconnect system. I may go with your regular spring-loaded quick disconnect. Those have a tendency to seize up over long installations, so we may look for another solution, something that's less likely to get corrosion locked on. So now we have our basic setup here. Of course, this is how it is going to look in the vehicle. We are going to potentially have to add some bracing. So let's go ahead and add some bracing now. I'm going to go with cube because I do love cubes for anything that I have to do that's going to be purely linear. The reason for this being that cubes, if you follow me, cubes have 4 sides. 6 sides actually, but they're complete is what I mean. So you don't wind up with an issue of transparency from one angle or another. You wind up with an object you can clearly see, and I am a big fan of that. So now we have a 1-inch square. It's about 4 inches long right now. We'll go ahead and make that a bit longer. But we are going to kind of try and center here to X0. Boom, I like that. We'll go ahead and mirror that. That doesn't work, because then if this is down in the position it's going to need to be in, it's going to intersect with whatever hose comes off of there. So let's get rid of that. We don't want that. And we're going to move this now toward the center because we do want lots of support near the center of this device. And voila, we have got it. So that's now lending support. Gives us a point to attach to our frame rails. So now this, for all intents and purposes, is complete. This is the unit as it will sit in the car. Now, what we want to do is break this up into components and combine those components together so we can assign some materials. So let's go ahead and combine the airbags. So now those are one component. I'm going to make them out of black rubber. Okay, you following me? Next, I'm going to actually set the material on this first and then go back and combine it in the modeling side of the software here. Combine so that's a single object. Boom, so now you got a nice chrome finish on that. And then we will combine our 4 rods and the plate that they move with. Okay? Combine. And now material. We're going to go with a mild steel here. Okay. Now we combine our frame brace and our top plate. Right? So now that's going to be one object. And we can hop back over to the materials selection. I'm going to go mild steel for this as well. Boom. So now we have completed our air lift for the vehicle. This is going to be one of the most critical pieces of technology with my cars because it's really going to be the one thing that's going to set us apart. And hopefully gain the company some attention and potentially some support so that I can really do this thing right. Because I've always wanted this dream to truly be my life's work. Building cars, taking technology that we've already got, simple technology that we've already got, and combining it in ways that maybe somebody hasn't thought of up to this point to make for a really interesting automotive industry future. So now I've saved my airlift file, and I can go ahead and I can go open file, and go to the 2500 HD dimensions file, or the heavy duty supercar, if you've been following along so far on YouTube. And I can just import that file right in. And now placement becomes the next question, because we want to place this thoughtfully in a way to where it doesn't interfere with any of the normal workings of the design. Okay. So we want this, I'm going to say, just inboard of the forward, forward, just forward of the suspension wishbones or control arms. Now, as I'm looking at the positioning here, what I'm trying to get a feel for is, what I might run into as far as things that I'm not accounting for in the later construction. And that's, things like radiators, cooling hoses, etc. The things that haven't really been obviously accounted for yet in this build, because we've got, as you see, a very bare frame. I have not even put the tunnel in underneath the center console for everything to naturally go through. So we've got a lot of missing pieces that are yet to have been determined where they are going to go or how they are going to interact with what's in place already. I obviously will have to customize this in order to tie it to my frame, but I do have that support to work off of. So what I'm probably going to wind up doing is actually just a triangulated drop from my actual main frame member. And you know what, now that I'm thinking of that, I'm going to go ahead and scoot forward a little bit, and I like it a lot. So that is going to give us a pretty good balance right in front of our front wheel. So we know when that lift goes down, that wheel is going to come up. Now the problem is, for this to not have drastic repercussions as far as the frame is concerned, we have to have it at all four corners. So I'm going to have to find some space in the back here. And that, my friends, is easier said than done. That is far easier said than done, because we've got a lot going on back here and a lot yet to work into this design as far as things that must be back here in order for this design to function in the way that I want it to. Now, in the next video, what we're going to be working on is a little bit more of the fleshing out. And by fleshing out, I mean we're going to be doing some panel work over here on the rear quarters. I talked in the last video about how I'm still not comfortable with this shape. We are going to get it to a point where we are comfortable with it in the next video. And that means probably some pretty drastic styling changes here. I have played around with the idea of some scoopage here, maybe something a la Countach, or something sort of potentially a Bugatti Veyron like, where we maybe look at whether or not to bring this upper lip of what already has been done for a rear vent and kind of make that circle around a bit, so you have more of a business end and a party end going on. Not sure exactly how it's going to work out, but I do want to say thank you so much for sticking with the channel and watching my videos. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. Sometimes I may be sporadic with when I do or don't make uploads, but I am going to do my best from this point forward to do at least one upload a week. I really want to start getting a consistent schedule of content creation put together. So I'll be looking at writing some outlines and potentially putting together a more organized way of doing the channel. But thanks again for stopping by and watching the video with me. And we'll look forward to putting out some more great content sometime in the next week.